So we'll get going now, if that's all right. So thank you everybody for joining this wonderful event to celebrate the impact of connecting communities in Wales.
I can't believe I'm shutting the sun out.
We're all together today, so we wanted it to feel a little bit informal and a chance for you guys to say thank you and to reflect on all the wonderful work that's happened over the last 3 years. So do say hello in the chat, introduce yourselves. We have some trustees from CTA here, some members of SLT. We've got some guests from Transport for Wales and the Welsh Government due to arrive soon. So do say hello. And maybe one thing that you've really valued about connecting communities in Wales, and let's see where we get to. So as you'll know, Connecting Communities in Wales is a project that CTA has run for the last 3 years. It comes to its end this month, which feels like a bittersweet moment, really. On the one hand, there's so much to be proud of, the wonderful impact that Connecting Communities has had on many of your organisations and beyond. And on the other hand, it felt like quite a timely moment to reflect and let us really sink in all the good things about connecting communities, so we take that forward with us and take the best of what's happened into the future. So today we'll be hearing from Alison, who many of you will know is a project manager for Connecting Communities. She'll tell you a little bit about the project and what it was like from her perspective, leading herself and the team. We also have Michelle and John on the call with us today, who many of you will have known, have received calls and support from. We're saying goodbye to John today as we wish him well into retirement. Michelle and Alison will be staying with us in the organisation, and Rachel, our new Director for Wales, who I'll say a little bit about in a minute, we'll be talking about what's next, what's the future for CTA in Wales. So before I hand over to Alison, I just wanted to share some reflections on the project and some things that have come out through our final evaluation. So thank you for everyone who contributed to that with Wave Hill. Over the course of the last 3 years, we've supported 124 organisations and created 65 partnerships, which is pretty impressive. I like to say that Connecting Communities put CTA and CT on the map in Wales. In the final evaluation, 37% of organisations and partners that we surveyed said that they'd never worked with CTA before. About 1 in 5 of them hadn't heard of us. So it's just testament to the people-focused approach that the team have taken to build meaningful and trusting relationships and going beyond those usual community transport suspects. Over 42% of organisations said that they'd developed new contacts and met new people through the Connecting Communities of Wales programme. And that could have been through us facilitating partnerships directly, the team organising study visits, and through the Transport Innovation Network events that we had in North, Mid and South Wales. I'd also just like to talk about the staggering value of the funding brought into the sector. We're almost, I think we've probably crossed the 2 million mark, but there's £2 million of additional funding that's been brought into the sector over and above the funding that we got from the EU project, which has helped so many organisations to continue running and take a breath and be able to grow from a place of stability. So that's been invaluable, and the team have done a phenomenal amount, and a lot of hard work has gone into that. Before Connecting Communities, if you look at what the sector was like in Wales, our baseline survey said that 42% of CTs were highly or moderately confident about their ability. And that's more than doubled to 96% last month. So in the space of 3 years, if you think about how confident we are as a sector, that's a phenomenal achievement. And 80% of the organisations that received most of the intensive support, so that could have been project development, could have been training, have said it's developed their capability, capacity, and increased their sustainability. So I think that just goes to show what a legacy this project is going to have, both for CTA and how we talk about our programme work and what is possible. And for you guys and our partners, this project has been so rooted in the communities. It's built bridges between CT and non-CT organisations. We've reached out beyond the usual supporters and worked alongside new groups, and we hope to continue to do that. We are so proud to call Connecting Communities our flagship capacity building programme at CTA. It's going to feel quite different without it, but I really hope that all the learning that we've had will take forward. So a massive thank you to you for supporting us and to the wonderful team for making it happen. So we're going to hear today from Alison and 2 organisations that have been supported by the difference that Connecting Communities has made to them. And I'd like to introduce our new director for Wales, who is joining us with a wealth of campaigns and public engagement experience from Jobs Trust. You would have seen a blog from us on our website and in our member email. She'll be sharing a little bit about how we're building on Connecting Communities in Wales's legacy and how we're going to help CT to recover and thrive post-COVID, and in the context of a brand new Wales transport strategy. And then we're going to finish up with a video to end our time together. So with no further ado, Alison, over to you.
Hi, it's lovely to see everyone, and I think I know most of the faces here today. It's quite bittersweet, as Anissa said, and we had our staff engagement event earlier and I cried, so forgive me if I get a bit emotional, but it's a really sort of difficult day. But anyway, it's about celebrating the achievements. So today is all about celebrating the achievements of the Connecting Communities in Wales project. It's been 3 years of hard work. We're all extremely sad that it's coming to an end, but delighted to leave behind a sector that's stronger and more resilient than it was when we started. Managing the project's been rewarding, fulfilling, challenging. It's been a mixture of everything. I think I've gone through every emotion in the last 3 years. But I've got to say it's been a privilege and a pleasure to work with such a fantastic, dedicated team of individuals, you know, within the Connecting Communities group, but in the wider CTA group and as we call ourselves, Team Wales, but also working with all you guys as well. You know, the sector is so strong and dedicated and committed, just like the team. But, you know, this team has supported the sector throughout, and it's always shone through, you know, their enthusiasm and what they've tried to do to help everybody along the way. I couldn't ask for more, because they've always looked at developing the best possible outcomes for community transport in Wales. As you're all aware, the project was funded by the Welsh Government and the European Union under the Cooperation and Supply Chain Development Scheme. We've been building capacity across Wales by supporting organisations to develop new and innovative transport solutions and raise the profile of community transport, helping organisations to realise their potential. We facilitated transport innovation networks across Wales, and it quickly became apparent to us that a lot of work was needed to establish relationships and build trust across the sector. And we needed to work closely with not just community transport organisations, but with the wider third sector in Wales and the public sector in Wales to really sort of develop and nurture partnerships and linking up with additional stakeholders to investigate ideas and look at ways of taking them forward. Existing providers, when we started, had loads and loads of fantastic ideas that needed just fine-tuning and tweaking for further development, but they often lacked the capacity or sometimes the skills or just the resources to take anything forward. And sometimes it could have been seen as a risky plan, you know, they could tie up a lot of money from their reserves, or, you know, perhaps they didn't have access to any funding. So we were in a really unique position where we had a team of staff were available to support the organisations every step of the way. And my favourite saying is, you know, we've held hands and we've walked people through, and we've gone from inception of ideas that may just have been a little pipe dream or somebody's sort of little Saturday night on a sort of piece of paper scribbling something down, and we've had to turn it into something that's been really, really good to bring to the table and take to funders. And sometimes it just needed a little smoothing out to some rough edges, you know. If we didn't ourselves have the skills or the answers for anything, we could always find support for the sector to give them the answers they needed. And there were new transport solutions coming to the table every day, and time moved on. We really became the go-to people to talk to about ideas and how to develop them. And of course, you know, we talked and we talked and we talked, but we listened. And Michelle's little saying from a blog she did a while ago, it all started with a conversation, and it did. It's been part of our philosophy going forward and part of the Connecting Communities story. So by mid-2018, when you think we'd only started in January of that year, our first partnership funding bid was submitted to Welsh Government. We had others under construction, as we say. It was a wonderful position to be in, you know, thinking we had all this money that we could access to help the sector. But as with everything at Welsh Government, wheels turn very, very slowly. We decided that to hit our targets, we couldn't just, you know, sit back and wait. So we developed a plan, and we looked at ways of accessing funding to support the sector from other sources. And this we did. We developed 72 funding bids in under 2 years. We've had some great success, and as Anissa said earlier, brought in about £2 million into the sector. In addition to that, we've recently supported 4 organisations in North Wales to submit full bids into the Cooperation and Supply Chain Development Scheme, and that should see about 830,000 coming into North Wales early part of next year. So fingers crossed, and let's hope that we get success all round there. As I said earlier, many organisations weren't in a position to build these partnerships or develop funding applications or even bankroll the process. And community transport organisations across Wales needed support with core funding as well as funding to develop further. We helped with the bid development, and we just sometimes got them enough money to survive so that they could build back better and try and look at developing things going forward. So it's not something that was going to happen overnight. And the sad part for me, I guess, is that we're seeing a lot of things coming to fruition now, and unfortunately the project is coming to an end early. There's so much more we had left that we wanted to do. But the sector is resilient, and my favourite saying is they do an awful lot with an awful little. But unfortunately, it's become an expectation, and community transport surviving on a shoestring. Just because this is reality, it doesn't make it right. And community transport needs strategic funding to continue delivering the lifeline work that it carries out every day in communities across Wales, connecting people with jobs, training, healthcare appointments, reducing loneliness and isolation, and allowing people to access services and socialisation they need. And of course, this year has been extremely challenging for everybody. And yet again, all you operators have stepped up to the plate and delivered time and time again. So by proactively supporting organisations to work with us, we've managed to lever in, as I said, significant amounts of funding to the sector. And some were organisations who were already delivering transport services, but we've also assisted non-traditional community transport organisations to set up and start delivering services in communities where previously there was nothing at all. We've got, as I said, the 4 organisations in North Wales, and we've been supporting them quite intensely over the last couple of months. And I really felt for them, and poor Malady is going to talk to you later, and right to the wire, where we were like thinking, oh, is everything going to be okay? But, you know, guys, you've all been fantastic and you've all worked so hard. I'm so proud of you all. But in addition to supporting with funding, because that's not everything, we looked at what training we could help with, and that's been driver training. But we also found out that they didn't just need that, they needed support with other training, you know, to make them fit for the future. So there was first aid, there was governance, health and safety, financial skills, and dementia training. So we worked with the Alzheimer's Society and developed a pilot program to deliver sort of training where it could cascade down within an organisation. And that is still there. And I'm hoping that that's going to be developed further and taken forward, not just in Wales, but across CTA as a whole, because our drivers are front and centre, and they're the ones that tend to first pick up on it. I myself worked in community transport. Driver came in one day and said, "Oh, Mrs. Jones, I don't quite know." And they don't know where to signpost. So we're trying to help them and make them feel more confident with their support. So over the past 2 years, we've delivered training for 175 people across Wales in various parts of this, whether it's driver or dementia or first aid. And, you know, it's been really successful. There's always more to do, and I'm hoping that that will be taken forward. But we've connected with over 100 organisations, as Anissa said earlier, developing ideas, building partnerships, inspiring change throughout the sector, creating and safeguarding jobs, sharing learning and ideas, which has been really important, and developing a fantastic suite of resources to help us support you in the future. And they can be accessed on our website. But as we wrap up the project, we look back on our achievements and the phenomenal work of partners and community transport providers to increase provision and connecting communities to each other. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been with us on this wonderful journey. And I just wish you all the best for the future.
So I think we're going to hand over to our two guest contributors from Connecting Communities. Alison, do you want to tell us a bit about who they are and who you want to go first? Oh, you're on mute, Alison, which is definitely going to be the quote of 2020.
Sorry, I thought I'd done it then. Just to introduce you to Maleri, who is Chief Officer at Partneriaeth Ogwen in Bethesda. Maleri will tell you a little bit about our organisation and how we've helped out. And I do need to make an apology because Maleri is first language Welsh, and I hadn't arranged a translator for today. So she's very kindly going to speak to us in, well, it may be English or it may be a bit of both, Maleri.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Diolch, Alison. Thank you. And that's going to be the theme for the day, actually, just thanking Alison and Michelle for everything that they've done for us. Yeah, I work for an organisation called Partneriaeth Ogwen, so we're a social enterprise based in Bethesda, North Wales. We're not a traditional community transport organisation. What we do is develop regeneration projects, anything that brings social, environmental or economic benefits to our communities. And I think our relationship with the CTA started, I think, back in 2018, when we organised a community transport event. So we had an inkling, well, we knew that there was transport poverty in our area. So we organised a community event to discuss the issues and the problems. And we kind of combined that event with discussions around the need for a park and ride system. I don't know if you're familiar with where we live. There are huge parking issues up at Llyn Ogwen. So we're based kind of 5 miles from Llantfrancon. The events that we held back in 2018, it was discussing community transport, but also the park and ride ideas that we had for the valley. We also combined the ethos of that event with our sustainability principles. So as an organisation, sustainability is a core value for us, and we combine sustainability with everything that we do. So we knew that any kind of community transport solution that we did develop, it needed to be powered with electricity. or hydrogen. So it had to be a sustainable solution in every sense of the word. So yeah, we invited Alison up, and she came all the way up, and she did the presentation at the event. It was well attended, about 100 people came to the event. And it started our relationship with the CTA. And we got to know Michelle very well. And she was a lifeline for us, because obviously we didn't have any expertise in developing community transport initiatives. And Michelle kind of held our hand in that respect. So following the event, I worked closely with Christian Graham from Friends of the Earth and Michelle, just to kind of develop initial ideas on how to tackle rural poverty, but in particular transport poverty. And we developed an expression of interest for a rural lottery grant application called Dyffryn Gwyrdd Green Valley. And we also we were fortunate enough to access £10,000 from our local hydro group, Untitled, which is one of the projects that we established in the valley back in 2016. So they gave us £10,000 to employ Hugh, my colleague who's with me today, just to help us to get that grant application to the National Lottery. So Michelle was instrumental in that project and grant application. She helped us tremendously just to bring the bid together. And Hugh will talk a bit more. It was a successful grant application, and Hugh now leads the Dyffryn Gwyrdd team. So Dyffryn Gwyrdd is the Welsh for Green Valley. So I'll pass on to Hugh in a few minutes. At the same time as developing the rural lottery grant application, we submitted a grant application to our local leader project. So Arloesi Gwynedd Wledig gave us a car for a year, an electric vehicle, and we piloted a project where this car was available for our community to hire on a daily basis. That car was an electric vehicle, and we linked the vehicle to local community energy generation. So we installed the charge point at our local library, where we have Ynioquen PVs on the roof. So in terms of the circular economy and the environment and our core principles of sustainable development, it was a really successful project. Obviously, COVID happened, so the car couldn't be hired to our community after March, but we did use the car for community purposes. And it was used to deliver food on behalf of local businesses as part of our Cadwyn Ogwen scheme. So if you look on our website, there are various links to various projects. But Cadwyn Ogwen, it was essentially a project to help businesses deliver food during COVID and beyond. And then our most recent joint working with the CTA has obviously been on the Cooperation Supply Chain Framework application to WEFO, or Welsh Government, which has been a monstrous, awful experience, which was made better by Michelle and Alison helping us. So that's going to be for a shuttle bus, an electric minibus, to take people from Bethesda up to Nant Francon, where the national park, where the parking issues are. And hopefully we'll be creating some economic benefits, so tourists actually parking in the village, spending some money at local businesses. Ideally, we'd like some charge points in the car park in the village, powered with Ynioquen power again. But that's work in progress. So, but with Michelle and Alison's support, we've submitted the bid. Just a couple of points about the kind of support that they've given us. They've been so gentle and supportive. and they're just human. You know, I work with so many organisations that just give you kind of toolkits or signpost you, whereas Michelle and Alison, they'll actually, you know, they're grafters, they're not signposters. So yeah, I'd say, you know, that's the main thing for me, having worked with CTA, is having that personal touch. And I'm gutted that they'll be leaving if the project comes to an end in March. So yeah, so I'll just pass on to Hugh, who'll fill you in about Dyffryn Gwyrdd.
Mel, I won't keep you long because I know we've got lots to get through. I was the new boy who joined after Mel and Alison and Michelle did all the hard graft, so I got to put in the lottery application and we were successful. So what we're doing now is we're getting a new electric community vehicle for the community car project, which is an ENV 200. As Mel said, we're trying to be as green as we can in our development, and I've spoken to a lot of people. I think Rod's in the meeting now from Llandela, you know, picked people's brains, and people are very ready to share, so we're very grateful. And Dylan Gallanders at CTA has helped an enormous lot as well, because we're looking now, once we get our new car on the 8th of January, that we're going to be running it as a community car. We've got a driver, and I can see Sean from Cyngor Gwynedd. You know, we're going to be out, kind of, not literally, but not maybe literally, knocking doors saying, we've got this car, it's wheelchair accessible, we want to help the community. We know we'll, you know, it's one of those, we will soon fill it. What we're also doing, developing on the LEADER project, is the nice people at National Lottery have given us some top-up funding, Hobbyr Hinsawdd, which is, is to promote the environment, to stop climate change. And we're looking at another electric vehicle there. Again, I don't know if you're familiar with Co-Wheels, that's the company we used, which is a car hire operation where everybody gets their plastic card and can access the vehicle. So maybe not traditionally what CTA would do, but we're looking at the idea of promoting electric vehicles, because we've got our own hydro and solar, to reduce the amount of vehicles on the road in our community. And as Mel alluded, it's Dyffryn Gwyrdd, we've got lottery funding for 3 years to tackle poverty, and transport poverty is one of the big things there. So there's lots more of you done lots more work, lots more experience. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I'm going to just listen if that's okay, Mel.
Yeah, so that's us.
Oh, thank you, Maleria. That was lovely. Thank you, Hugh. That's really, really kind of you to share with us. And it's always good for everyone to share their experiences. And as Hugh said, pick some brains. And Rod's always there with helpful bits to add to any project that people are looking to develop. And with that, if I can just introduce you to Rod Bowen, who is Development Officer from Dolan Mpv down in Llandysil. And Rod will give you a little bit of information about background on the project down there and some of the things he's worked on with us and for us very kindly. So over to you, Rod.
Yeah, I wish I'd had Maleria and Hugh writing my script for me. They'd have been useful this morning. Such a concise presentation. Now, we'll mark mine after the presentation. But saying that, I'm Rod Bowen. I work for Llandysil and Pontwellium Line. We provide as an organisation a wide range of rural and urban community transport solutions throughout Carmarthenshire and South Ceredigion. Most of the transport is done through community partnerships that we have formed with a wide range of voluntary and statutory organisations. Organisations such as the local authorities, local health board, mental health sectors, social service departments, maybe a wide range of voluntary organisations mention, and schools, etc. And we've been CTA members since our inception back in 2006. But to start, can I give you a quick baseline of where we were pre-connecting communities, where we developed ourselves to and where we developed ourselves after connecting communities. We started the first service in 2006 using an underutilised local authority minibus to provide transport for organised groups in the Llandysil area. By 2008, the demand for such transport was such that in 2009, Mpv, which is the community transport name for our organisation, purchased 2 of their own minibuses to help address the needs. But by 2012, demand had increased again, and we were now getting inquiries from further afield for the use of our vehicles, sometimes as far away as 30 miles away in Llanelli and areas like that. It just wasn't practical for us to borrow vehicles to organisations in that area, purely because of the distances and the dead mileage and the extra costs and so on. So we had to change the way that we worked. So in late 2012, we were quite fortuitous. We were approached by West Wales Action for Mental Health, WAM is the abbreviation, to help them look for ways of helping the organisations that they supported get to services and to help improve the lives of their clients. And we became the lead partner, the first time we've really been in partnership as such, really quite as an organisation, in taking a bid forward to the lottery, and we were awarded a grant of £245,000 for a 3-year project to buy 2 fully accessible minibus lights that were placed in Carmarthen and Llanelli, and they were placed in partnerships as well. One's at Glangwili Hospital with WAST in their car park, and the other's in the Park of Scarlets. And to make these vehicles as sustainable as possible, we opened up those vehicles to be used in their downtime by other organisations in those areas, and we developed and cultivated that, because we thought, you know, getting a vehicle, parking it, using it for a certain client base was not a great use of a vehicle. So we wanted to make it as sustainable as possible by building up as much business for it as possible. So demand was so great after that, in a sense, because we had quite a lot of engagement and a lot of organisations using our vehicles, that we weren't able to satisfy needs. So we went for another lottery funded project in Ammanford. We were getting calls from Ammanford by this time for vehicles, and we just weren't able to satisfy their needs. So we worked in partnership with a housing association called Family Housing, and we placed a vehicle in family housing's enclosure in Ammanford, working then with the community and listening and developing services with the community in the Ammanford area. So also pre-connecting communities, we've done a bit of work where we ourselves have helped other organisations develop the use of underused vehicles, because they helped us satisfy the needs that we were actually starting to get. So we worked with the Burns Trust in Cadwelly and the St Albans Coach House in Cardigan to develop their underused resource. The Burns Trust were given a vehicle which had been parked up for 6 months in their compound, and they were at a loss how to develop it. So we've been helping them with developing that, and it addresses the need that we had in that area for transport. And again, with St Albans, they'd been awarded some money, but they'd not really developed the project particularly well, with 3,000 miles within 3 years of the funded vehicle, where today we've got 54,000 miles on the clock 4 years later. So it's, you know, it's become quite well used. So we've been struggling a small bit ourselves, and you know, our capacity as an organisation is very small. The back office is very small, just me and one other. And in 2017, with help from officers from the CTA and the Connecting Communities Funds, we submitted a further 2 grants into Welsh Government, one through RDP, which bought 2 vehicles to be placed in 2 other rural communities, and I'll mention them in a few minutes, and through the Connected Communities grant itself, where we purchased another 2 vehicles and some staff time to develop the project, build up capacity in the sector for group transport, and just develop new opportunities for other organisations that may have had underused vehicles that they wanted to get more use from. So the funding allowed us to place a minibus in Llanybydder, Aberaeron, Rhydlewis and Llandysir. All of these vehicles now serve a wide range of organisations from within and around these communities. And we've always gone for the minibus light vehicle, which gives younger youth groups, younger youth leaders the opportunity to take their organisations to events and whatever. So, and these are organisations that's needs aren't met by commercial or public bodies. So, for instance, we could, you know, the bus routes don't allow for them to actually, you know, travel at night, or maybe don't allow them to travel in groups during the day, in a sense. Or maybe purely because there's no accessible transport available for them. So In 2019, with the help of Connecting Communities, we were approached by the Community Wind Farm Grant, Brechfa Community Wind Farm Grant officers, to ask whether or not we could look at developing a pilot in the 6-kilometre golden area of the Brechfa wind farm to look at addressing transportation issues that they identified under consultation. Transportation was number one as the biggest problem that people are facing in that area, and they were looking for a solution for it. So to address this, the needs of the deeper rural communities in and around the Brechfa area, we submitted a bid to the Brechfa Wind West Farm Fund to develop an MPV based service in their area. And the transport was to basically address many of the concerns, but align with what the wind farm was about. So we purchased our first electric Mpv vehicle. It's a 5-seater electric vehicle. It's a Nissan 200 that can carry 5 people, and including the driver, plus 1 wheelchair passenger. It's been used as an accessible community car, volunteer driven. The vehicle is used as a car to take individuals to key services, doctor services, hospital appointments, or just for social journeys. But we've also gone for the hybrid version, not the car, by the way, because the car is fully electric. We've actually done a car share and car club with it as well, very similar to what you've done up in the north. So it's a bit of a hybrid scheme, but it seems to work, and it also keeps the car busy, because not one of those elements would keep the car busy. It's about a mix of creative activities. To drive these vehicles, and we've got quite a few vehicles, I'll mention how many we've got in the next few minutes, we have provided all groups that have identified volunteer drivers with free Midas driver training. And to date, we've trained 860 drivers over the last 4 years, with 467 of them still actively volunteering for their preferred organisation. And 10% of these will actively drive for an organisation or maybe an individual person. So we've had quite a good voluntary engagement through the projects. We have recently been awarded, sorry about that, the postman was just trying to deliver something, I do apologise. We've recently been awarded funds to further expand our electric vehicles MPV offering, and that's through the help of Alison and David at that particular time in taking a project to the lottery, and we were recently awarded in February £446,000 to expand the Brechfa offering. So in other words, we've got 3 electric vehicles, extra electric vehicles. These are 7-seater, by the way, fully accessible as well, that we'll be placing in key strategic areas around the Llandyssil area. And the reason for that is, A, to get people into Llandyssil and beyond Llandyssil to services such as hospitals and hospital appointments and so on. B, to address the issues of carbon reduction of carbon footprint. So it's been exceptionally useful for us to actually work with the CT and the project to actually and they've helped us enormously in identifying people that have done like-minded things or helped us with the technical issues that you sometimes find with permitting and so on as well. So we're currently working on 2 innovative partnership projects, and I hope that Alison and the CTA team will be around to help advise me on that, because their advice is key to that, and for provision and further investment into the Carmarthenshire over the next few years. So just to give you an example of the amount of vehicles we run at the moment, not as big as some community organisations that are based in the UK, but we've got 15 vehicles, 9 of them are minibuses that are 17-seater, fully accessible, 5 MPVs, 2 are diesel powered, 4 are, 6 MPVs, so it's good, 2 are diesel powered and 4 are electric powered. And they're predominantly used for group use, the minibuses, where we've now started to do more bespoke journeys with the electric vehicles. On a good, they're based in Llandyssil, Carmarthen, Kidwelly, Llanelli, Brechfa, Ammanford Aberaeron, Llanybydder, Rhydlewis, Pencader, Saron, and so on. And the reason I mention that is because I strongly believe that these vehicles need to be placed in the communities that they serve, because that's really what makes them successful. We work with a wide range of organisations, as I mentioned, and we've got about 243 organisations that have paid members to actually utilise our group hire services. And then we've got something in the region of 140 individuals that are signed up to use the small MPVs for their needs. On a good year, when pre-COVID, we were carrying something in the region of around 28,000 passengers a year. We were anticipating this year to be one of our best years ever, but it became one of our worst years ever for the reasons of the pandemic. And we'd anticipated this year we'd have increased it from 27,000, probably somewhere in the region of around 43,000. That was the predicted numbers because of the additional capacity that that had been invested into our organisation. We have been active over the period of COVID, and we'll be active well into next year, I'm sure, addressing the needs of our communities. And those needs are wide and diverse. We've been quite open in the way we've used our vehicles, from allowing food banks to utilise vehicles, from carrying people to hospital appointments, down to anything really that the community really needs to actually survive and go and move forward. So I hope the above has given a flavour of the way that we have developed the people we support, and the strong will and determination that we as an organisation have to make a difference. But I have to mention the help we've had over the last few years. And these people are the people that work really behind the scenes to support our sector, and sometimes we forget about them when we're actually promoting our projects, and they're the unsung heroes at the CTA. I would like to personally thank the team at the CTA offices in Neath and in North Wales, for without their help, enthusiasm, guidance, expertise, we would never got to where we are today. They have presented us with vast opportunities through the Connecting Communities project to develop our capacity to think for ourselves, work in partnership, write bids, become better trained, and be more innovative. Ultimately more resilient, and more importantly fit for purpose. So thank you very, very much to this team at the CTA, and I would like to personally thank them by name as well, past and present employees, Alison, David, Christine, John, Gemma, Michelle and Dylan, the CTA team in Wales, for all the help in helping us develop our organisation. I hope that the funders today will understand the importance of the sector and the support you give the sector through the CTA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rod. That was really, really kind. And I know you're always looking for new ideas and challenges, and it inspires me every day, because you give me a call and say, what about this or what about that? And it's just great, because I also get to share that across Wales, some of your really good ideas. And I'm working with a car scheme in Neath at the moment, and that's on the back of malaria up in the north and other schemes going on, and Rod across in West Wales. And I can share the good practice and things, which is fantastic. So thank you for that, Rod. That was really, really great. What I'd like to do now, Anissa did mention that we've got a new director, Rachel, who's going to give a few words and tell you about what's going to happen in the future. And I'm sure that, you're all going to give her a great welcome, and you're going to look after her, and you're going to get to know her over the coming months. And it's just unfortunate that we can't all get together at this really difficult time. So Rachel, over to you.
Thanks, Alison, and thanks again to Rod and to Malaria and Hugh. It's been just amazing hearing your presentations this morning. It's just brilliant for me, who someone who's new to the sector, to hear exactly what's going on, and to hear this kind of true impact of the work that's happening in the CT sector in Wales. And I just think it's just so inspirational, and I feel really excited to have joined the sector based on just the stuff I've been hearing today and the stuff I've been hearing over the last week or two. So I'm just into my second week now. It's been a really great couple of weeks so far. I've got an awful lot to learn, and but there's so much to take in, and it's just really delighted to be able to join today. Some of the things that really kind of hit me from the presentations I've heard today is just the kind of innovation that's happening in the sector. It's amazing. I think we really are a kind of truly demand responsive sector, and you really are truly, demand responsive organisations. That's very, very clear, and the stuff that's happening is so directly kind of linked to exactly the very specific needs of different communities, and that's wonderful to see. And I think that's something that will really kind of carry us forward as a sector with the kind of challenges that inevitably we're going to have ahead. So, of course, we're saying goodbye to the Connecting Communities project today, and we're very sad to do so. Very sad to say goodbye to John. We thank him for his work. But I'm delighted to say, and I'm really pleased that Alison and Michelle will be continuing on with the Connecting Communities, sorry, not with Connecting Communities, with the CTA team. Yeah, sorry, you have to forgive me, I'm new. With the CTA team. So Alison will, of course, be continuing to support CT in Wales. And Michelle is going to be working alongside me on a really important project, and that is on the Wales transport strategy. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with the fact that the Welsh Government is reviewing and will be producing a new Wales transport strategy. And our role is really to make sure that community transport features very heavily in that strategy, and that our views and that your kind of work and your experiences are reflected in the new transport strategy, so that we can make sure that the funding continues and that we're able to continue to support the work that goes on in your local areas. So if Michelle hasn't already been in contact with you, then she will be over the next few weeks. She's trying to make sure that we can get everybody's views, that we can really reflect and kind of represent the diversity of the sector, because it is a really diverse sector, and it's just amazing to hear all the different kinds of projects that are happening across Wales. You can expect to hear from us before Christmas, because we're going to be producing a document which has just got some ideas for you guys, some kind of thinking points for those who would like to respond to the consultation as individual organisations. Of course, we'll be responding centrally from CTA, and we would like to get your input into that, but also we're really encouraging to people to respond as individual organisations, because we want to make sure that your views are truly reflected. So we've got a few kind of thinking points, some suggestions for how you might go about producing those consultations, but of course you can talk to Michelle and you can talk to myself anytime you like. But the Welsh Government, they genuinely do want to hear what we have to say. They genuinely do want to hear what's going on in the ground in terms of community transport. So this is really an opportunity for us to have our voice heard, to have your voices heard, to make sure that community transport features really, in the future of transport in Wales. So that's a massive opportunity going forward, and something that I'm really excited about, and I hope that you will all be excited to be involved in too. It's also, of course, the support that goes on for you in Wales will not be stopping. Although the Connecting Communities project is coming to an end, there will be continued support from Dylan and from Gemma, and of course all our advice services will continue. So we do hope that you will continue to use those services, and we can support you in that way. And I think Anissa also mentioned as well, and Alison mentioned, that all of the resources that have come about as a result of the hard work of the team will continue to be available. So there's a load of fantastic resources that really kind of distill some of the information, the learning that's been happening over the last few years. You'll continue to be able to use those, and we hope that will really help with the development of the projects that you've got started. So they're on the Connecting Communities website, and also on our main CTA website too. So please do use those, have a look through those if you haven't already, although I know a lot of you will have used them and been part of the creation of those. So thank you for helping to kind of create that legacy really of information and learning that will support projects as we move forward. So really moving on to 2021 and what that's going to look like for us at CTA. Of course, the Wales Transport Strategy, as I've said, is going to be a huge feature of our work and a huge opportunity. There are going to be a lot of challenges, we know that. There have been massive challenges already in 2020, but what's really struck me as well is the resilience and the kind of responsiveness of the sector. The fact that you are so attuned to the needs of the communities, I think puts us in a really strong and unique position to be able to respond to the challenges that COVID brings. And we're hearing some amazing stuff about the work people are doing to sort of support their communities with the kind of COVID issues and the response to the virus. So I think we are uniquely placed, and we should be sort of proud of ourselves for that, and you should be proud of yourselves for the way that your projects have reacted and have responded to this unique challenge. And I think we'll take that forward into 2021. And also I think that the really great thing about the Connecting Communities project, and something that I think we can really build on, and particularly in our work on the Wales Transport Strategy, is making sure that the public understand the true value and the true role of communities transport. I think, Malaria, you talked about the role in tackling rural poverty, and I'm not sure that everybody sort of understands just how integral community transport can be. So I think we have a role to play in really heralding and kind of making sure that everybody understands that the message that community transport is integral and valuable parts of the way we tackle some of these ongoing issues. Yeah, so that's it from me, really. Thank you very much to everyone who's spoken today. It's been really kind of inspiring and amazing to hear what you've had to say, and thank you to the team for all your work. And I'm really looking forward to working with you over the coming weeks and months, and seeing some of your faces again. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Rachel. That was lovely, and it's great for everybody to put a face to a name. So that's really good. Just want to say briefly, thank you to Emily and Andrew for joining us. They couldn't join us to give a little talk because they've been working hard in the kitchen and delivering meals. David helped them to write a funding application to the big lottery earlier this year, and I think it was about 80,000. So they've got a new vehicle and a driver and everything else, and they've been keeping their community fed throughout COVID. And hats off to you guys. I know it's not easy and really difficult times for everyone. So some really good projects have come out of some of the funds that we've managed to help organisations to secure. So we're moving on now, and Max is going to play a little video for us that we prepared. So let's enjoy that, and before we come to a close. Thank you all.
Our work has a major positive impact on our members' lives, and it's often the difference between some people living a good quality of life and not living a good quality of life.
Without funding, we can't continue to function as a charity. We're always completing an application but getting nowhere. You helped us with the completion of an application to the lottery, which subsequently was successful. And it was fantastic. I mean, it's the first time since I have been involved with a charity that we got any sort of funding to that degree.
All of our current some 200 members have commented that the community car scheme has a really positive impact on their lives because it connects them to people, places and services, which is invaluable to them.
I'm Bowen, I work for Mpv, and today we're going to talk about this new exciting electric vehicle that will be based in the Brechford area. It's a community vehicle, and we have a large network of volunteer drivers in the Brechford area. The vehicle has room for 4 passengers, the driver and a wheelchair.
A lot of my role is about listening to the issues and concerns that older people have, and one of the biggest issues is about transport.
Every day I hear about the difference that community transport makes to people's lives.
We're all talking and we're excited, and it's as if we've just been let out.
I became a volunteer driver because I felt that it was giving back to the older members of the community.
What do you think of the service that Dial-A-Ride provides?
Well, my personal experience has been perfect. Can't beat it.
Well, it's put me at great ease because I know, yes, I'm going shopping on Friday.
I can't fault it at all. So good, yeah.
The service is totally amazing.
We haven't all got cars and that, and we've got disabled people as well. Some people think, oh, I can't do this, you know. But it turns out that it's quite easy to get on that bus, and they seem to be enjoying it. They're going for the next trip. When's the next trip, you know?
I feel less isolated, yes I do. It's really a pleasure to go and meet other people.
Dial-a-Ride have been wonderful in the way that they have cared for those attending Gofal Dydd.
Like take me to the hospital and things like that, save using the taxis, which I'm not very keen on, especially in lockdown.
Very helpful and very pleasant, aren't they, all the time?
For us elderly, it is really, really so valuable, and we're so grateful.
Well, it's an exceptionally good service. I wouldn't be able to cope without it.
No, can't fault it at all. It's been magnificent.
I'm back. Sorry, I was clicking on the mute. Just want to say really that that brings our lovely legacy event to a close. Thank you all so very much for joining today. But thank you for all your support over the last 3 years. Thank you for working with us. Thank you for engaging with us, looking after us, making us laugh. Fantastic event up at CT19 with Bev and Tony last year. Really enjoyed, had a great time, and I hope that we will all see each other again soon. And really, really diolch yn fawr for just being there, doing what you do, and helping us do what we do, really. Fantastic. If I can encourage you to feed into the Wales Transport Strategy, please, I think there's a closing date. Did I see something earlier? The 20-something of January. And I just want to really sort of wish everyone a really, really happy Christmas. And I won't say a prosperous New Year this year. I'm just going to say a healthy New Year for 2021. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and just keep doing what you do so well. Thank you.